Why you need to learn vector math when you're a game developer? The question always struck me when I start developing games. And of course, I take my next step to learn from the documentation, and this is the Godot documentation where you have this vector math section. You have an introduction about the coordinate system when you're on 2D, and you have also all the basic operation for the vectors. But it seems pretty theoretic for me, so I made an example, and I made a little scene like this one when we have a player on a 2D platform environment and we have an enemy, and I was starting to experimenting with the vectors and trying to understand why we have to use vectors on our projects. So to start, let me demonstrate. I'll start the scene and you see what I'm talking about. So we do have a player, and this player, of course, you can move the player around the environment. And if you see the compartment, the behavior of the enemy is to follow the player wherever it goes. And of course, you see these lines which are drawn on the scene each time the player moves. So the update is made on each frame, and what we do in this scene is I just draw all the vectors needed to understand why you have to use vector math on your project and why you have to have good grasp of this theoretical information to make a good use on your game projects. So if you see, we have 5 lines, and the two main lines are here to demonstrate the two axes, the x-axis and the y-axis. You have the x-axis on the red line, and the y-axis is drawn with a green line. We have another 2 lines, one, the blue one, who is starting from the origin and going straight to the player, and the other one, the white one, is from the enemy. Let's say it's an enemy, okay? And this one is drawn directly to the enemy. The last one is the yellow one, and is the main line which is here to demonstrate why it is important to learn vector maths. And this yellow line is going each time updated from the enemy to the player. And if you have noticed from the beginning of this video, you see that the enemy is moving along the yellow line, and this yellow line is a vector. And each movement you can do in your whatever game engine you're using. I'm using Godot, but it's the same information is used on other game engines. It would be the same on Unity or Unreal or any other game engine. It's the same theory across all the engines. And this one say that if you want to go to have the object moving along a vector, you have to specify the vector on the first place. And how to specify this vector? You see, it's a really easy one. So going back to the theory, to the documentation, you can see you have another all what you need to learn the basic of vectors. But to have a good example and to have something which is useful, it's very difficult to demonstrate that. So I tried my best to have this one because it was the easiest one to demonstrate for me. And this says that if you have to go from, let's say the tank is our enemy and the robot is our player from the documentation, and you see that's what I was trying to demonstrate on my video. And you see that if you want to have a vector that comes pointing from toward the target, and the target is our player in my demonstration, you have simply to do this simple formula, which is that it's the robot minus tank. You have to say player minus the enemy. And this is it. You have to find the vector pointing from A to B. You have to use B minus A. It's one of the simplest formula you can have. And if you go back to our code, you can see this code, which is the draw code. This one is used to draw all the lines. By the way, this is the function used. It's draw line with the vector. So this code is the one used to draw all the lines, and it draws, you can see that it draws the 5 lines, the X axis, the Y, and the 3 lines from the enemy and the player. So going back, we need to find our formula, and this one you can see it right here on the enemy, and this is the formula we use to pointing. So we have a mover slide which is going straight through a vector, and this vector is used to move, to update on the physics process function, the move and slide along this one. So our enemy moves and slides each time defining from this vector, and we can see that this is the formula which is used. So the path vector is from the player position minus the enemy position. So I hope that's it. If you like the video, please subscribe to the channel and make your comments on if this video was useful to you, and let's hope I see you in the next video.